Hello, Army of Light, boots on the ground. It's Shawna L. Today is Valentine's Day in the United States. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. February 14th, 2023. We are channeling Queen Elizabeth. And today I spent about 2.5 hours with her. It was a long exchange and exhausting. 2,200 words, a little over 2,200 words. That may be the longest exchange that we've had so far. I've had longer exchanges with the Galactic Federation of Light and Melchizedek, but this was pretty good for us. There were times when a sentence would come and it would be almost a half an hour before the next sentence would come. It's really a challenge. I'm getting better at holding space and staying focused. But after like the 2-hour mark, I had to get up, use the restroom, get a drink of water, come back, and we wrapped it up. So she's doing better. You know, yesterday feeling more fired up. Today, more interesting information about the Master's Eye. I'm in awe that we get this kind of insight into this extraterrestrial species, not just any species. We're talking about a force that has been here on Earth since forever, influencing and controlling the human population, with most of us none the wiser. You know, we talk about this being super dense, super hard. The GFLs called this the School of Hard Knocks. Well, that's an understatement, if you ask me. So I am just getting so excited about having the Queen of England, the Queen of the UK, Queen Elizabeth, come forward as a negative reptilian entity. And here she's changed teams to the light like I have, and she's giving us all this incredible access to this information. I know all of you have a lot of questions. I do too. I really just want to honor kind of the flow that she's laid out for all of us and really trust. I do ask a few questions today, but it's really in context with what she brought up today. So thanks everybody for watching, for liking, subscribing, all your beautiful comments, all your love and support, all your beautiful emails, your donations. You guys you're amazing. I love you all so much. I'm going to go ahead and get into this and yeah. Tell me what you think here. Anyway, I expressed my excitement to the Queen today. I'm just feeling elated. I'm so happy that we're doing this. Come what may, we make a great team. And she said, thank you, Shawna. I love your enthusiasm. We do make a great team, and I'm feeling much more centered and grounded in this process myself. I can already feel the collective energy change around all of this. It's quite a relief and a humbling experience. I said, yes, it is, Elizabeth. It's humbling and it's beautiful. I said, shall we get started? And immediately I heard something about, we'd like to do some energy adjustments with you. So right off the bat, usually that comes a little later. So just right off the bat here, I sat for maybe 6 or 7 minutes and I felt my energy shift and change, a lot of movement in my face and in my head. And then when that process was done, I guess I'm in a better place to receive the channeling, or she's in a better place, or the connection is stronger, or whatever it is. Oh, during that time, I had made a note here. I was picturing these huge spotlights that were suspended above me, just turning on, shining on me one at a time. And it'd make a click noise every time a light came on. So ka-ching, 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 ka-ching. I had all these spotlights just like on me, like big spotlights, like the kind that you see in the sky. And I had just said, well, I'd rather be illumined in light than be buried in the dark somewhere. So I didn't think too much of it. All right. So she said, good afternoon, Shawna. I said, hello, Elizabeth. Today we're going to go back to my childhood, more to share there, Shawna, more context to provide that will help round out people's understanding. I said, sounds good. When I was a wee girl, she said, maybe around 4 years old, once again my memory takes me back to my father, holding my hand. He was so very kind. I truly loved him. He always made me feel so very special. He'd look at me with his tender eyes, eyebrows raised, giving me his attention, pretending to be enamored with something I was telling him, something I was showing him, a question I was asking him. The smile on his face, his eyebrows raised as if to say, "What is this now, my child?" but in a nice way. And I didn't realize anything was amiss until I was maybe 11 or 12 years old. My father was the reigning king of England. He was always quite busy. I remember feeling it as a loss. The glimmer that he had once had in his eye when he looked at me was gone. No more time for long stories or philosophical questions. It just became all business with him. I tried growing closer to my mom at the time, but she was also extremely busy. I had become old enough to take care of myself, and I took it upon myself also to play a maternal role with my younger sister, Margaret. I wanted her to feel that life hadn't changed much and that things were going on normally as they always do. But as the months went on, I became more and more uneasy with the feel of the family, the feel of the home. I thought that life was going to get so much more exciting once my parents moved into their new role, but I felt let down. The duties of the throne had overtaken importance above my sister and me, she said. And then I remember the summer of my 12th year, something interesting happened. There was a long pause here. Oh, the suspense is almost unbearable. I have no idea what she's going to say. So she's hitting 12 years old. She's talked about puberty being kind of a critical time for the hive mind. So this was kind of in the background here. And I remember too, like in that 30 minutes or whatever it took for her to start talking again, I was giving her a pep talk like, "Okay, Elizabeth, you can do this." I said, one word at a time, one phrase at a time. We'll build the story together. She said, "Shawna, it's just so difficult to recreate and relive some of these experiences from my new perspective here." I would love to ask her when the time is right, what is her experience on the other side? I said, "I can only imagine, Elizabeth. Please just do the best you can. We'll get through it together. Take your time." She said, "Lilibet. My mom and dad called me Lilibet. I would love that because it just felt so informal and so real. This small little term of endearment always warmed my heart." It was the early hours of the morning one summer day, maybe 4 or 5 a.m. I awakened with a start. Something didn't feel right. All the hairs on my body stood on end. I believe I was sleeping, but in a light sleep. My heart started pounding and I realized I was holding my breath. So this reminds me of her experience as she was peeking through the door at Philip and Anne from a few channelings ago. Another big pause here. She said, "It was still dark outside, pitch black. I laid in my bed and I listened intently as my mind felt momentarily confused. I remember not moving a muscle, remaining as still as possible. I allowed my eyes to open and look around slowly. And then I saw it, toward my bedroom door, a movement. I often slept with the door shut," she said, "especially as I got older. Having the door shut gave me a bit of space and a bit of separation from the outside world's busyness and the changing feel." The door was shut and I saw a movement by the door, which meant something was in the bedroom with me, something or someone. I said, I would freak out, Elizabeth. I don't even know what I would do in that situation. It sounds terrifying. She said, oh, it was, Shawna. At the sight of the movement, I took in a short breath, like she did one of these. I instinctively sat up quickly and scanned the room with my eyes, darting all around while keeping an eye on the door. I turned on the bedside lamp. To my surprise, the room appeared empty. I know what I saw, and I know how I was feeling with all the hairs on my body standing up on end. I began to breathe slowly as I carefully and deliberately looked around the room in detail. And at this point, I'm feeling these flutters in my heart. I wasn't really sure what that was. But I noted it as feeling like my heart was opening, which is interesting, but I think it was more fear coming out, like picking up on her fear. She said, Shawna, after about 30 seconds of taking a good look around, I sat upright in bed with the lamp on, and my vision filled with the color red. Mind you, my eyes were open, and then I felt this presence enter my body. I felt as though I were just suspended, as if time had frozen. And almost as an observer, I experienced this red take over my mind and the energy soak into my body. I remember at first having just a fleeting thought, oh, whoa, this is interesting. But just as that last word came out, I had lost all capacity to have any kind of thoughts that were my own. It was as if being possessed, whatever that may be like, she said. Even here from where I sit, she said, in this moment, this experience is fuzzy. But within a flash, I was no longer sitting in this bed in my private bedroom as Lilibet. I had had a glimpse of something so much larger, expansive, all-encompassing, and I would add, riveting. Excuse me. Even as I observed myself breathing, it felt like I had 1,000 lungs and they were all breathing in unison. Truly, I had lost myself in this moment. I felt as though I were in some kind of a tunnel, yet the tunnel had no walls. And somehow I felt like the tiniest, most condensed point, while at the same time feeling as large as the universe. There were no thought processes happening, just experience. Soon I had lost the sensation of even breathing. And there was a big pause there. I'm like, oh my goodness, Elizabeth, please continue whenever you're ready. Shawna, and just then, it was as if the lights were all turned off and I was absolutely nothing. I went black. And then I saw it, she said, the master's eye. And it's not as much as seeing as it is feeling. Every cell in your body has an eye, and every cell is looking at the master's eye. Then every cell in your body becomes the master's eye as all separation melts away. Man, my heart was racing. I I couldn't believe what was going on with me as she's describing this. And we had a really big pause after this, so I could really kind of feel into what was going on with me. And again, am I picking this up from her or what? And I feel like I was having some kind of a deep connection to her experience, as if somewhere deep inside me I recognize this. And also I was tripping out on this whole idea, and this is not the first time, the sense of oneness, the losing of yourself, this nirvana that we strive for as, spiritual seekers, some of us. It's like, feeling that oneness with the all that is, feeling a part of source. Part of how she described that reminded me a lot of that experience. Yeah. And I said, for those who can experience that oneness, it's life-changing. It's a big deal. And you spend a lot of time wanting to get back to that place. I have experienced it one time, and I'm talking like 4 seconds of it, where I just felt myself dissolve, and I was truly feeling myself as one with everything. And it's incredible. And as soon as I got really excited about it, it went away. Anyway, I said it's a significant experience. She said, yes, Shawna, it is a very powerful experience, and yes, it is life-changing. And she continued here. And what seemed to have happened to me in that moment is that much of who I was as Elizabeth was absorbed into this oneness. It had become a permanent connection, a permanent shift in my energy, a permanent shift in my experience of myself. And after this experience, she said, having retained only a small portion of who I was before this event happened, it's as if a large part of me never came out of that experience. That feeling of being the master's eye never fully left. It had become a part of me in that moment. She said, and I would never be the same. They had become me, and I had become them. She said, Shawna, the way I consider it now is that only a part of me survived that event. The Elizabeth who emerged out of that state was not the same Elizabeth who had entered it. That morning I awakened out of that state of consciousness, not really knowing where I was. I was not really grasping fully who I was. My vision came back slowly, where at first it was like I was cross-eyed, trying to make sense of what was going on. Curiously, I felt a great amount of calmness. I don't know how much time had passed, but I remember that the sun was rising and there was light out the window. When I regained my senses in a bit of a daze, I turned off the lamp and I laid back down and I pulled the covers up to my chin. I tried to fathom what had just happened. It hadn't really felt scary, but it had felt significant. I hadn't even realized that I had dozed back off to sleep until my sister Margaret was at my bedside telling me to get up, that I was going to miss breakfast. Upon being awoken abruptly by my sister, I didn't immediately think about what had happened. As I was picking out my clothes and getting dressed for the day, all of it seemed to just fade into the background like a faraway dream. I didn't really feel different in that moment, she said, but from where I sit now, I understand that so much changed in that brief experience. And there was another long pause. I said, Elizabeth, may I please ask a question? She said, certainly. I said, at this point, at 12 years old, were you aware that the Master's eye was reptilian in nature, otherworldly, extraterrestrial, not of Earth, not human? She said, yes, Shawna, there's a knowing of who your master is, and that this is not of human form. You do get a sense for a reptilian form as running the show. And she said, it's more so just a knowing that this is the case. So you just kind of already know it. I said, thank you, Elizabeth. May I ask another question? Yes, you can. All right. I said, before this event happened, were you part of the hive mind in any significant capacity? She said, Shawna, everything was in place for this connection, but it was this event that solidified the coupling. And this occurs in some form or fashion with all negative reptilian hive mind humans. Near puberty is the best time to activate this connection. The brain has matured enough, the body has matured enough to handle the energies. And it's also a time when one may be wishing to assert themselves, possibly making important decisions. The hive mind leadership wants to be in charge when this happens. I said, Elizabeth, were you acting different after you got up out of bed and you went about your day? Were you feeling different or acting different? She said, I was definitely feeling different, especially with the internal dialogues, but this was subtle, not so outwardly. So my thinking process had been modified. I remember having less worry, less concern. I felt more mature, a bit wiser. And to be honest, I also felt like I was part of something larger, like I belonged. It felt natural, she said. I said, thank you, Elizabeth. She said, Shawna, if there's nothing further, this feels complete for me today. I'm like, okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you so much. I said, it was beautiful to work with you today. I love you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow, I said. She's like, okay. All right, so we wrapped it up. The Master's Eye. Team, if you haven't seen it, there's a video that I did where she talks about the Master's Eye. I will, if I remember, I'll put it in the description, a link to that video where she introduced that whole concept and the control it has through the hive mind. Okay, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up for the night. I love you all so much. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for keeping up with Queen Elizabeth and all this incredible information coming through. Thanks for holding your light, holding love, being compassionate, knowing your worth. I love you guys. Okay, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Mwah.